This is still one of my favorite action heroes in film. I've done a bunch of videos covering the lore of Guyver over film, TV show, and the manga. So in previous videos, I talked about the state of the manga, how the story has gone so far, but it was never completed. The Guyver manga has been running for 30 years. The last issue came out in 2016. I covered the story in one of my videos. The story was expanded so far that now we have Guyver Exceeds, which are giants. New armies of Zoanoids that follow Agito Makishima. Guyver 3, by the way. Some Zoolords were defeated. There's a female Guyver now, and a mysterious character named Apollon or Apollyon. Seeing as how the progress of the manga might never be finished, I went to look at extra footage or info about Guyver 2 and find out what happened to the Guyver 3 movie that we never got. During the making of Guyver 2, David Hayter said his most challenging experience was the nightmare sequence. He was strapped into a box and tied up for 3 hours. Then he was covered in methyl cellulose, but he called it Methacil. He says it was the most taxing part of the movie. In another interview, he says Methacil is the same slime that is used for the xenomorph in the Alien movies. He also says it's some type of food additive. The most fun thing for him about this movie was that he always wanted to play a superhero. In another interview, he says the most terrifying scene was running to the cliff area. They had one of the stunt doubles named Chris would wait by the edge to catch David if he fell. Steve Wang talks about his most difficult thing. It was directing and producing a Guyver 2 Dark Hero as a film. He mentions Yoshiki Takaya, the creator of Guyver. Working for him was a really good experience. He was in Japan a few times and read the script over. He says he respects the comic book. He would do everything in his power to keep his movie faithful to the manga. Steve was also given a lot of leeway with the movie to do what he wanted. David says he got around to watching the anime videotapes. He would study the footage. This way, he would have a better understanding of what to expect. During a 2018 interview, David mentioned he spoke to Steve Wang about a third Guyver movie. In this story, he would be an older Guyver.
I've spoken to Steve Wang, the director, about possibly doing another one and being an older Guyver, and I would really love to do that because it's picked up a nice fan base.
I was able to find this information, which came from 2 websites, which is a screenshot of what David Hayter might have said back in 2012. I tried to search the tweet, but I could not find it. It seems like the post was deleted. I actually pitched a Guyver 3 outline to Steve Wang many years back, but it was too tangled up in rights issues. Someone claims to have met David Hayter at the Fan Expo in Philadelphia and asked him about another Guyver movie. David mentioned to me that he's been talking for months with the original director and writer Steve Wang and Nathan Long about trying to get Guyver 3 made. He said there are some rights issues, but he's confident that they're close to getting things sorted out, and believes there's about a 75% chance Guyver 3 will be made. And here we are in 2024, and as you can see, there is no third Guyver movie. Back in March of 2024, David went on a podcast with The Guyver Geek. They spoke about Guyver Dark Hero, but also brought up the topic of a third Guyver movie, and he tells the story about something that happened a long time ago. David said before he wrote X-Men, he wrote out a pitch for Guyver 3, but Steve did not want to do it. Later on, he got a call from an executive at MGM with a real budget, so David and Steve went down to talk with them. This executive said they were a big fan of Guyver, but again, the issue was with the rights. This was the best chance they had, but MGM did not show enough interest to make it happen, and so the deal fell apart.
Before I wrote X-Men, I wrote out a pitch for Guyver 3, and Steve was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So I sort of let it go. Then I got a call from an executive I knew, a film executive at MGM, who said he was a huge Guyver fan, and he wanted to talk about doing another Guyver movie with MGM, like real budget. And so Steve and I went down, we had a meeting at MGM, and we talked to him. And everybody was very excited, but I think once he started to get into the rights, the Kadokawa of it all, and Brian Yuzna, and it's, I don't know why, but it's just, it's very complicated and difficult to work out. What you need is a studio like that to just pay everybody off and say, look, what do we need to do to make this happen? And I think the appetite wasn't big enough at MGM to take those steps.
David also had another idea about doing a new movie with a younger person that acquires a Guyver unit, and David would show up in the film as the older, more experienced Guyver, but he was near the end of his run, and the Guyver unit was killing him. They got excited to do it, and Steve was also interested, but again, it was the rights issue that prevented them from doing anything else. We could have seen Old Man Guyver.
So I don't know. I mean, I talked to Brian Yuzna, the producer, about doing a Guyver where, some new kid gets a Guyver unit and then doesn't know what to do with it. And then I show up as the experienced Guyver, but I'm sort of at the end of my run and the Guyver unit's kind of killing me. And it was cool. And we got very excited about what we could do with it. And Steve's certainly down. It's just a rights issue. It's such a bummer.
In fact, when we were doing the movie X-Men, I was working on the script, and the stunt coordinator, Gary Jensen, walked past my office, and he was carrying a copy of Guyver, and I was like, hang on, where are you going with that? And he goes, oh, I'm going to show this to Brian. He goes, have you ever seen this movie? The fights are amazing. Yeah, and I said, well, turn it over. And he turned it over, and he goes, but that's you. And I was like, yeah. He goes, why is that you? And it was a baffling little moment on the set of X-Men.
There's also this book called Budget Biomorphs, The Making of Guyver Films by Dom O'Brien. It goes over many things about producing the two Guyver movies. Over 200 photos, ranging from never-before-seen images, rare production sketches, design concepts, and deleted scenes. Over 40 interviews from key members of the cast and crew, including Screaming Mad George, Brian Yuzna, Steve Wang, Ted Smith, and Wyatt Weed, plus a foreword by actor-screenwriter David Hayter, and an afterword by the co-director of The Guyver and director of Guyver Dark Hero, Steve Wang. This book has art sketches for different characters back from 1993. I've never seen these before, so it's really cool to see them now. These drawings here are very similar to the concept that was done in the manga. It's been over 30 years since I first stepped into the Guyver's universe, and I am still floored by the outpouring of love the fans have for our little movies. I am forever grateful and inspired by them, and for our future generation of filmmakers, I share my experiences in the hope that you get a taste of the scope of the personal sacrifices and persistence your journey into independent filmmaking may demand of you, and I hope you will stop at nothing to make your vision a reality. It's hard, very hard, but so worth it. The budget for Guyver 2 Dark Hero was somewhere around $900,000, but they pulled it off and made a great movie. So this is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like rating on it and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.